Hey everyone, I'm back with another House of the Dragon video. And today I'm giving my review of the season 1 finale, The Black Queen. The Targaryen civil war has begun. Sometimes wars start due to foolishness or bad luck, and this was one of those. Now, no matter what Aemond's intentions were when he chased Lucerys on Vhagar, he's still the one responsible for his death. I might have given Aemond a pass if it had simply been a situation where he flew Vhagar threateningly past Arax once. But you don't push a dragon that is as battle tested as Vhagar into such a fierce and reckless pursuit and expect it to end well. It would be like chasing someone who's on foot with your car and then you accidentally hit them. Even if you didn't mean to do it, you're still to blame. Besides, dragons are bonded with their riders. Notice how Caraxes always shows up when Daemon needs him. Vhagar can feel the hate and anger Aemon feels for Lucerys, and that sort of works as a fuel here too. Once Arax hit Vhagar with fire, it was all over. And while the young dragon was foolish to challenge a monster like Vhagar, he was at least smart in attempting to go for Vhagar's eyes, her one vulnerable spot. Notice the parallel here too. When they were kids, Lucerys took out Aemon's eye, and here's Arax going for Aemon's dragon's eyes as well. I discussed this scene in even further detail in my video after the finale. I'll link it below in the description section. I was surprised they hit us really early in the episode with Rhaenyra giving birth to their stillborn daughter. This was the most brutal childbirth scene of the season. The name they gave her to, Visenya, also happens to be one of Aegon's sister wives, a previous rider of Vhagar. Also, notice the contrast in this scene where Rhaenyra took full control of the birth all on her own, whereas her mother, Emma, died in childbirth and had no agency whatsoever. She didn't even know what was going on when they held her down. I'm a little concerned with what the writers are doing with Daemon. The scene where he gripped Rhaenyra's throat felt out of place in this episode. Earlier, we had him bowing to her and putting the crown on her head, and at the end, he takes her hand as he delivered the news about Lucerys. So this attack felt out of place to me in this one. Of course, we know Daemon is violent, but previously he's never shown behavior close to this with Rhaenyra, or even with any of his family. So this just didn't work for me. I don't get it. Anyway, in the next week or so, I'm going to do a video on Daemon and some of the comments made by the writers on the show. It's something to be a little concerned about as we move into season 2. Rhaenys was great in this episode. So many nonverbal moments. When Daemon said they had melees on their side, Rhaenys flashed an "oh do you" look. I like too how she showed some skepticism about everything going on, yet gave Rhaenyra a grudging respect because she's looking to preserve the realm from conflict. Even though we caught a glimpse of it in the promo already, I still love the scene with Vermithor and Daemon. It's our first introduction to the only dragon that comes close in size to Vhagar. Although I'm skeptical that Vhagar would enjoy being sung to, I definitely wouldn't try it. But Vermithor does like to mellow out to some top Valyrian tunes. The throwback scene on the bridge at Dragonstone was filmed extremely well, and we finally got to see Syrax again. The page from the book that Alicent had Otto give Rhaenyra had me wondering a bit. It's an odd memento to keep for so many years. Was Alicent perhaps in love with Rhaenyra? It would explain some of her self-righteous anger toward Rhaenyra's personal life, and then also her readiness to try and make amends during Viserys' last dinner. I don't know, but there was just a hint of it in the scene. I was a little confused with the timeline they presented. Rhaenyra told Otto she would give her answer to him on the next day, yet she then had her sons embark on a mission that would take longer than that. Lucerys could certainly return from Storm's End, but Jace had 2 stops, and one of them was Winterfell. So this line felt out of place, and it would have been better if she simply said he would hear from her very soon. For all of his faults, though, Otto is not a weak individual that's just hiding off in the Red Keep. This was his second perilous trip to Dragonstone, where he could have just ended up barbecued. So he's made of some stern stuff. I liked the scene with Eric Cargill bringing Rhaenyra her father's crown. There was also a nice subtle moment where Daemon glanced at it sadly, as it clearly brought home the death of his brother. And then just as he last put the crown on Viserys' head, he then placed it on Rhaenyra's as well. All of that was extremely well done. It's good to see Corlys back. Daemon smartly decided to be elsewhere until Corlys' arrival. Daemon wanted to give him time to absorb the news of how Vaemon figuratively and literally lost his head in the throne room. Corlys and Rhaenys also came to the conclusion that it was the best interest of their grandchildren that they take Rhaenyra's side and not stay neutral. After all, they're both to marry Rhaenyra's children. Elliot Gridholt did a great job in his final episode as Lucerys. He sold the scenes at Storm's End perfectly. They did an exceptional job this season with casting the younger actors, particularly when they had such big scenes, like the younger version of Aemond claiming Vhagar, and now Lucerys. Millie Alcock, too, was excellent as Rhaenyra. I actually preferred her portrayal over Emma Darcy, and it's nothing against Emma, but Millie, I think, helped draw the audience into the story early on. And in this episode, while portraying Lucerys, Elliot really had us with him in that scene, from when Lucerys landed in Storm's End to his final moments. It was a great performance. Daemon was right, too, about rushing to get everyone not only on a war footing, but reaching out to the other houses. Nothing brought this point home any stronger than the fact that Aemon was already at Storm's End by the time Lucerys arrived. The Greens had the early upper hand since the Blacks had not yet even been informed of Viserys' death. So all of this urgency, while it was made out to seem unreasonable on Daemon's part, was really a matter of life and death. And ultimately, the advantage that the Greens had early on, this time factor, was one reason why Lucerys ended up being killed. Although I felt this episode had some scenes at Dragonstone that felt a little awkward or perhaps edited in a heavy-handed way, the power, the emotion, and the cinematography of the final scene was so strong that I still have to give this one a 9. I have some mild concerns as we move forward into season 2. Overall, I think this season was a strong 8 or 8.5. Its biggest problem was the pacing was too fast, particularly in episode 6, where we were introduced to Laena and Harwin, and then by the end, they just exited it. They were gone. For the love interests of key characters like Daemon and Rhaenyra, people they had children with too, this was much too soon. I think at various points, they also could have worked the dragons in a bit more. The finale was the first time we saw the older version of Rhaenyra with Syrax. I did like, though, how they worked in Syrax's concern in episode 10 when Rhaenyra went into labor. So what do you think about the finale and the season? Again, the link to my breakdown of the Aemond, Vhagar, and Lucerys Arax scene is below. I have more videos coming up about the season, and I'll be covering news on filming for season 2, along with more content on the Song of Ice and Fire world. So hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and make sure you listen to Caraxes and subscribe. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you soon.